Tonight, on Mike's Anything Goes, Mike talks about Space Precinct 2040, a Gerry Anderson production. 94, 95. Well, we're going to talk a little bit about this show. As you know, I've talked about some other shows that Gerry Anderson has done, and I am a Gerry Anderson fan. You know, having seen a number of shows when I was growing up as a kid. And I generally liked them. I remember when I was very young seeing some Stingray episodes, Captain Scarlet, and then, of course, the live-action shows, UFO and Space 1999. So I've already talked about Space 1999. So pretty much after Space 1999 in America, from what I know, there wasn't any more Gerry Anderson shows for quite a while, at least not here in America, that have been released. And then, just by chance, I was going to the gym, still work out, but I was going to this gym where I live in New York that was over 24 hours. And I would come back like around, I go to work out like around 7, get back around 10, and I'd go to Burger King, which is not good, to like refuel myself. And I would watch TV before going back to the gym later again. And I was watching Channel 11, and I stumbled upon this show called Space Precinct. And basically, I started watching it on a pretty regular basis. And I want to talk a little bit about this show. It not literally has really much been said about it, and it's an interesting show, but it has its problems. Now, for those of you that are Gerry Anderson fans, as you remember, the early body of Mr. Anderson's work was pretty much Super Marionation or other lesser puppetry effects. So there's Fireball XL5 and Thunderbirds, and of course Joe 90. I think the Secret Service with the priest. That's a secret agent, I think, and Stingray and Captain Scarlet. And I remember seeing Captain Scarlet with a really young kid. And Super Marionation was really cool because like the puppets were really lifelike, and they could move their eyes, and the strings that controlled them were really, really light, and the voices were like dubbed, and they were like mechanically designed to look like they were actually talking. And it was a really good show. Captain Scarlet I really liked, but after that, Gerry Anderson started moving into live action, and when people were reviewing what this gentleman had done, they were like, he never dealt with real life people, all he dealt with puppets. And that kind of alarmed British television, I think, a little bit. And of course, Mr. Anderson's first live action show that all of you fans know about is UFO. And that only lasted for one season. I think that was filmed in 69, 70, and then that wound up being released in America 72, 73. And then the successor to UFO, which was supposed to be UFO Season 2, and metamorphosized into Space 1999 with Martin Landau and Barbara Bain. So that's the interesting thing about that, because there was going to be a second season of UFO, and then as the story developed, the aliens from UFO were going to blow the moon out of the Earth's orbit, but it just turned out to a whole different show altogether. And then Shadow and Ed Straker and Colonel Freeman from UFO were just forgotten about, and there was a brand new show altogether, Space 1999. Now, I've already told you about that show, and after Space 1999 came to an end, to me a sad end because I like that show, in America, as far as I know, we had nothing else science fiction related to Gerry Anderson until Space Precinct. Now, Space Precinct came out in 94, 95, and it starred, the main star was an American actor, Ted Shackelford. And most of the American audience knew him from Knots Landing, where he played Gary Ewing, who was like a relative of the Ewing family from the TV show Dallas, which was a very famous quasi soap opera in America. And the problem I had, well, we'll get a little further beyond that. But besides Ted Shackelford, also Rob Youngblood, who I never heard of before, and this Danish actress Simone Bendix, who played Officer Jane Castle. And basically, the series, the premise of the series that Ted Shackelford and Rob Youngblood are New York City cops that somehow were now transferred to the year 2040 to Demeter City, which is a place out in outer space. There's an orbiting space precinct that orbits the planet Altor, and that's their policemen. And joining part of the composite of the police staff are alien police officers, the Creons and the Tarn. The Creons look like they're reptiles with these really long eyes like this. The Tarn have a more fish-shaped sort of face and body type. Now, the problem with this show is that I feel that it didn't know what type of audience that it wanted to relate to, because you had human beings and human actors that look like giant puppets. The Creons, had this mask. I saw a documentary about Space Precinct where the actor had to sit with this mold on its head for like a number of hours to fit the design on, and the eyes were really far apart, and there was animatronics, like these little motors and gears that made the eyes move, and there was always a fear that the actors and actresses that were under these masks were going to pass out because it was so hot, and there was a group of technicians standing behind that would control the eye movements, to make the eyes blink and move. They had remote control, all right? So that was a big problem for me, because the aliens, the Tarns and the Creons, they weren't scary. And in order to have an effective villain, they have to convey a sense of menace. This is a crime show, right? And these things, they look like giant puppets without the strings. So when I watched the show, I couldn't tell if this was supposed to be serious or this was supposed to be a cartoon for kids. So, as you can see with Thunderbird, Stingray, and Firebug, those were all puppets, so you could come to that assumption that it was for kids. Pretty easy to sell, all right? And then you have UFO and Space Act 9, which had no puppets, and you can tell it's for adults. This is like a combination, I feel, of the two of them, because you have alien people, you have human beings that are, and the ensemble cast consists of aliens that look like giant puppets. So one of the several problems with the show, and I really try to like this show, and I do like it, but it's a hard sell. It's hard for me to try to convince other people to watch it. You really got to make the effort to sit down and look at it, because you take a look at these Tarns or these Cronies, like, oh, Mike, this is stupid. Whereas with Space 1999 or UFO, the aliens had a humanoid, in UFO, the aliens were pretty scary. I mean, any of you UFO fans remember the episode Ordeal, when Colonel Foster has this nightmare and he thinks he gets kidnapped by the aliens. He's in a sauna, and one of the aliens punches him in the mouth, and they kidnap him, and they fill him with his helmet with the green liquid. The aliens themselves were UFO. They were humanoid with these wicked-looking contact lenses, which I always thought was hysterical, because I remember in the episode Identified, when they had captured an alien, and they took the contact lens off, and his eyes looking around, like, somebody knock him out, because I thought he was going to attack him. But even the aliens from Space 1999 had a humanoid appearance, and they were generally menacing because we could relate to them. These things, these Carns and the Tarns and the Creons, they're laughable. They're laughable. All right. So like I said, the Creons had these big wide eyes, and they look reptilian. The Tarns were this fish-like design with pointy ears, and they had a third eye that could open up, and they had telekinetic abilities. Okay. Now, one of the things is that there was no opening episode to set the tone of the series. When Space Precinct comes up, it goes, oh, I'm Lieutenant Patrick Brolin for 20 years on the NYPD. Now let's just say I'm in a different precinct, and then you see the opening credits. So there wasn't a backdrop story. Unlike Captain Scarlet, when he turned into a Mr. Ron and dies and comes back to life, or UFO, when we first learn about the aliens unidentified, or in Space 1999, when the moon gets blasted out of the Earth's orbit. That sets the basis for the series. There's no introductory episode in Space Precinct. Brogan and Haldane, the Jack Youngblood and the Ted Shalhoub characters are already there. They're already part of Denver City. So, how did these guys get here? Nothing on space. All of a sudden, we've somehow conquered space travel, and we have space police. Doesn't make any sense. Now, as I said before, the aliens, the Tarns, and the Creons were terrible. They were really well designed, but they looked fake. They looked like giant puppets. They did not convey any sense of menace. They wouldn't scare it too. I don't know if you're a Rolling Stone fan, but they have this song on the Goats and Soup album called Dancing with Mr. D, and that's supposed to be a scary song. It wouldn't scare a 3-year-old. People have said that's the way these aliens are. So you have a crime show, you have a killer that's this giant puppet with big ears and a third eye, and you're like, that's supposed to scare me? It doesn't work. I said, like, there was kind of an identity crisis with the show because it couldn't tell what it wants to be. It couldn't tell whether it wanted to be a kid show or a live action show. So that was uh, bad. And maybe in some respects, the aliens themselves were designed to keep costs down because, like, they did a interview with Mary Woodvine, who played Officer Took on the show. You don't know what this lady looks like because she was wearing this giant mask. So there was no way Mary Woodvine could say, well, I want more money. Because, well, we'll just put somebody else under that mask and dub their voice like we're dubbing yours and no one's going to know who you are. So maybe that was a way to keep costs down. Also, it was said that this show was one of the most expensive shows, like an expensive budget. It didn't look it. The special effects for Space 99 and UFO look better than this show, and they were 20 years earlier. There are some good special effects. You can see this is not Derek Meddings that does the miniatures for the James Bond movies. This is somebody totally different. And it just, when it's on screen, it just doesn't translate well, to see, what it is. And I said, poor special effects. And like I said, the other shows, the predecessor shows, UFO, Space 99 had better special effects than this show. So it's very surprising that they would have such bad special effects because they were filmed on Pinewood Studios, where Space 99, where the James Bond movies are filmed, where UFO was filmed. So I was surprised at that at all. I was very surprised. But that's the main problem with this show. I try to like it. Well, next time we'll talk more about some separate episodes. But other things too. Ted Shackelford, for American people, he's not a strong male role model because he was pretty much identified with Knots Landing, which is a soap opera. Most men in the demographics of 18 to 35 aren't watching soap operas. So he wasn't a draw. Unlike Martin Landau for Space 99, who was on Mission Impossible, which was a cool show. You could kind of see them being able to draw that demographic of the male audience. That didn't happen here with that. So, that's a big problem. And like I said, I really try to like the show. When you actually sit down and watch these episodes, they're actually very good. But to think that you're going to be scared by this giant, like, Muppet puppet coming at you, like, haha, you're going to laugh. I mean, think of the, you Space 99 fans remember The Troubled Spirit with Dr. Mateo was half burnt, Warren, and the spirit, and that scene when he's walking down the corridor and the door jams and they have to, like, give a Mezzadrine to force the bad, spirit out. That was a scary episode. Okay, that's a scary episode. Some of the scenes from, if you remember, Force of Life, when Zoroff was freezing people, and there's that one scene when he's coming down the corridor really slow, and that lady's trying to scream and, like, run away in slow motion. That's horror. And well done. And Space Precinct was unable to generate the level of tension that needed to make this show seem serious. And it's really too bad, because I did try to like it, and the stories are actually pretty good. But unfortunately, it all came to an end. It only lasted one season, like 24 episodes. But I do encourage you to try to watch it if you can. The disc, you can get the disc on the DVD, 5-disc set of the whole series. But again, it seemed like Gerry Anderson kind of caught himself in a mix. Well, whereas the other shows from prior to UFO were, you could say, were kid stuff, and from UFO and Space 99 was solely adult, this is like kind of a hybrid of the two, and you really can't tell. And it looks like a giant kid show with adults playing it, So, I love Gerry Anderson's stuff, and I've always been an admirer of his work. But this is a tough one even for me. I've tried to sell friends on this show. They're like, Mike, this looks like a cartoon. Again, Ted Shackelford, nothing to say bad about him. I think he's a really good actor. But even I'm like, Ted Shackelford. I'm like, he was on Knots Landing. I didn't watch Knots Landing. I didn't watch full soap operas. So, anyway, it's a tough read, but I think you can catch it on YouTube, these episodes, or the DVD set. I really encourage you to at least try to watch some of them. The Fire Within is a good episode. The last double episode of the series is very good. And some of these episodes are really worth a good watch. Friends was a good episode. So next time we'll talk a little bit more about this. But in the meantime, when you get a chance, don't knock yourself out, but it's worth watching. Mike's Anything Goes. subscribe, hit me if you like it, and we'll talk soon. Take care.